Live in Western Oregon, this is NBC 16 News at 11.
13 people are dead, including the shooter, and at least 4 others are injured after a city employee went on a shooting rampage in Virginia Beach, Virginia. Good evening and thanks for joining us on NBC 16 News at 11. I'm Alexis Thrower. Alan Matthews has the night off. It happened a little after 1 this afternoon. Tonight we're hearing from witnesses who describe the terror of hearing gunshots break out in their workplace. NBC's Chris Pallone has the latest.
The mayor of Virginia Beach, Virginia, like so many others in the city, in a state of shock.
This is the most devastating day in the history of Virginia Beach.
After a man walked into a municipal office building and started shooting.
Shortly after 4 p.m. this afternoon, the suspect entered Building 2. He's a longtime employee of Public Utilities. I will not release his name at this time. And he immediately began to indiscriminately fire upon all the victims.
Employees say it was a normal Friday afternoon until a little after 4 when they heard the unmistakable sound of gunfire.
We heard shooting, but we didn't think it was actually at the courthouse because it was kind of muffled.
We just heard people yelling and screaming to get down.
In the chaos, city employees tried to hide or escape, unsure where the gunman was.
We barricaded ourselves in the office. We put the desk up against the door because we didn't know if they were coming in or anything.
Police quickly responded and confronted the shooter.
I can tell you that it was a long gun battle between those 4 officers and that suspect.
Police shot and killed the shooter. He was carrying a .45 caliber handgun with an attached sound suppressor and several extended magazines. When it was over, the horror apparent. 12 victims dead. At least 4 others rushed to local hospitals for treatment.
We have found victims on all 3 floors of the building, as well as one victim who was outside.
Those who survived, stunned.
But I'm still shaken because it's just entirely too much killing going on.
I don't know what kind of person would do something like that.
As the reality of what happened sets in, police will try to answer the biggest question on everyone's minds: why? Chris Pallone, NBC News.
Eugene police have made a major bust involving guns and drugs. Police are still investigating if there is a meth lab at a home on the 4600 block of Marshall Avenue in Eugene, where 6 arrests were made. The Street Crimes Unit and Police Patrol observed numerous people coming and going from the location yesterday. The suspects in custody range in ages 30 to 65. Police say they uncovered machine guns, handguns, drugs, and stolen property. They say the home has been on the radar for months by the Eugene police.
You know, especially this one we've been working on several months, so it just feels good to get to completion and deal with the people that are causing problems in the area.
Lieutenant Vinci says police have been receiving a lot of positive feedback from local residents who say the house has been a problem for the neighborhood for months. What could be the remains of a missing 4-year-old girl were found today during a search for the child's body in Arkansas. Authorities said road crews found a black garbage bag emitting a foul odor near exit 18 in Fulton, Arkansas this afternoon. They started searching the area for Malia Davis after her stepfather reportedly confessed to a community activist that he dumped her body there. Activist Quanell X said this morning that Malia's stepfather, Darian Vince, told him Malia is dead, her death was an accident, and where he dumped her body. 4-year-old Malia Davis has been missing from the Houston, Texas area since May 3rd. Darian Vince has been in jail since May 11th, charged with tampering with evidence in connection to Malia's disappearance. On to a first look at weather. NBC 16's Travis Knutson joins us now. Travis.
Showers and thunderstorms across the higher elevations today are finally starting to dwindle away, and what's left behind will be a whole lot of nothing as we head through the overnight hours. But late night lightning was with us just about a half an hour or so ago, but you can see for the Willamette Valley, the Umpqua Valley, and the coast, very quiet. And getting into the weekend, we'll see more of those quiet conditions to stay with us as well. And any thunderstorms on the way for the weekend, like today, remain across those higher elevations. But it was a bit of a suffering of a day in regards to our pollen count across the region. Grass is on the extreme side of things, and Saturday, Sunday, Monday, we will remain on the extreme side of things. evening, so keep that Allegra handy. Temperatures tonight will cool down into the mid-50s. Pretty warm night on the way. Skies pretty clear. Highs tomorrow warming up very nicely. Upper 70s, mid-80s on the way for a few spots, and even the coast should manage to warm up a couple extra degrees tomorrow as they manage to pick up a few extra hours of sunshine in the afternoon and evening hours for our Saturday.
Proposed budget cuts at the University of Oregon have many employees worried and angry. The local Graduate Teaching Fellows Federation and the Service Employees International Union held a rally today outside of Johnson Hall to pressure the university to rethink their plan. The employees are calling on the university for a new contract that does not include any reductions to health care. Some of the graduate fellows held a sit-in outside of the administration building this week. They're also asking state lawmakers for more funding for higher education.
Us coming together is really the only way that we can push back against this attempt to impose budget cuts and balance the budget on our backs.
The university makes most of us feel like we're expendable, and last time I checked, it's us workers here who makes this university work.
The university says it supports free speech and will continue mediations. A new affordable housing complex is being proposed in the North Eugene area along River Road. The project comes after months of talks between the Social Service Agency, St. Vincent de Paul, and the River Road Community Organization. It's a $14 million development called River Road Affordable Housing. The city of Eugene purchased the land south of Beltline a few years ago for this purpose.
All publicly funded low-income housing projects are built to last for the duration of the funding cycle, which is often for decades. So they're arguably better built than market rate projects.
Eugene City Club members today heard the latest on the proposal. 53 units of affordable housing are included in the plan. St. Vincent de Paul's Terry McDonald says full involvement by neighbors and the local community organization made the proposal work.
By having this interface with the neighborhood, we were able to start with a platform that said, this is what this neighborhood wants, this is what they will support, and that this is what will make this project something that the neighborhood welcomes and keeps here.
The property is along River Road at Maynard Street, south of Beltline. McDonald says they're waiting for final approval from the Oregon Housing and Community Service Office on financing. Groundbreaking could happen spring of 2020. Coming up next on NBC 16 News at 11 with new tariffs on Mexico. You could see a spike in cost on your next car purchase. And later in the show, if you need something to do this weekend, we'll tell you why it's the perfect time to go fishing.
Smoky skies, scorching heat. It's becoming 16 News at 11.
Missouri's only abortion clinic will remain open for now. The license at the St. Louis Planned Parenthood was set to expire at midnight, and the Missouri Department of Health said it would not renew it, citing patient safety and legal violations at the clinic. Planned Parenthood sued, arguing the state was weaponizing the licensing process. In his ruling, the judge stated that Planned Parenthood has demonstrated that immediate and irreparable injury will result if its abortion license is allowed to expire. Missouri would have become the first state without an abortion clinic since the U.S. Supreme Court's 1973 Roe v. Wade ruling legalizing abortion. A hearing is set for Tuesday, June 4th on Planned Parenthood's request for a permanent injunction. Those new tariffs on Mexico could affect what you spend on goods here in the United States, everything from cars to beer. NBC's Tom Costello tells you what's at stake for consumers.
This is Tom Costello at Flemington Car and Truck Country in New Jersey. Owner Steve Califer fears those new tariffs will hurt business. Ford, VW, GM, and Fiat Chrysler all have factories in Mexico. By one estimate, Americans could pay $1,300 more per car if tariffs climb to 25% by October.
The only people that are going to pay them are the consumers. This car has a cost. If you raise the cost through tariffs, the consumer's going to pay more.
Potentially affecting even more people than the trade war with China. Mexico is America's second largest trading partner. Among the top imports from Mexico, vehicles, machinery, fuel, medical equipment, as well as fruit, vegetables, and alcoholic beverages. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce and National Retail Federation both warn tariffs will raise the cost of living for American families. Fear that corporate profits will take a hit pushed the stock market lower today, but presidential advisor Peter Navarro insisted it's not Americans who will pay the price.
Why raise American consumers' prices on all of that stuff coming from Mexico?
But no.
I mean, importers pay for it.
No, the governments of China and Mexico will pay for it, and the producers in Mexico and China pay for this.
But most economists and analysts say that's simply not the case. Companies will cover the tariffs by raising prices, which means everyday Americans will pay the price.
Turning to weather now, NBC 16's Travis Knutson is standing by for a look at what's coming up in your full forecast. Hey, Travis.
Sunshine showing up across the region today really helped to warm those temperatures up. Roseburg at 84 degrees, 80 in Eugene, and 61 in the North Bend Coos Bay area. Warmer weather on the way. I'll tell you how much warmer coming up.
M. Jacobs Mattress Gallery is now open.
Travis Knudsen.
After a pretty dry work week around the region, the weekend will remain on the dry side as well, at least for our localized region. Rain will fall in parts of the state, but it will be mostly over the Cascades in central and eastern Oregon. So for our area, nice and dry as we get into Saturday and Sunday. Now, early morning hours before about 7 a.m., clouds are expected to be around the region, but they will clear out to sunshine. Even the coast, which has struggled to see some sun the last couple of days, by the afternoon hours should pick up some blue skies overhead. However, getting into next week, it'll be a slow cool down, and we will have to contend with maybe some below average temperatures by the end of next week. But here's a look at that satellite in red over the last few hours. Any lingering showers and thunderstorms for the Cascades quickly coming to an end. Quiet for the Willamette Valley, the Umpqua Valley, as well as for the coast. Still seeing some drought across the northwestern portions of Washington. Not too much of it in Oregon just yet, but as of now, it looks like June probably will end up more dry than wet. So as we progress throughout the month of June, likely to see those drought conditions spread across the Pacific Northwest. And part of the reason why is where the rain will head. This is a look at the jet stream across the northern hemisphere, and this guides much of the moisture across our region, and that's pointed off to the north into Canada, missing us entirely. Instead, we just see this warm, dry air move in from this high pressure center, and this is our weather pattern throughout the weekend, throughout next week, and likely to be throughout a good chunk of June. Overnight tonight, though, those clouds are expected to return to the coast. You can see at 8 a.m. on Saturday, the marine layer giving a gray start to the day. In the afternoon hours, sunshine for the Willamette Valley, a little bit of sunshine breaking through on the coast, but plenty of marine layer clouds are expected there. And then once again, showers and thunderstorms returning to the Cascades tomorrow. Now, as far as our temperatures are concerned, 70s on the way for many locations, low 60s on the coast. Florence seeing a high on Saturday of 62 degrees. Here's a look at that 7-day forecast for the Eugene-Springfield region. Mid-70s as we move into next week, watching a pretty small chance of rain as we head into Friday. But for the short-term forecast, upper 70s to near 80-degree heat across the region. Now, the coast should manage to warm up a couple extra degrees tomorrow as sunshine becomes a little more common in the afternoon. That said, a good chunk of the morning still will see plenty of clouds overhead, all due to that marine layer, which will be pushing onshore. Heading into Sunday and next week, mid-60s on the way, overnight lows in the upper 40s and lower 50s. Pretty dry, and even our one chance of rain next Friday at this point still looks very, very minor. For the Umpqua Valley, high temperatures will be right around 80 degrees for our Saturday. Myrtle Creek at about 79 degrees, Roseburg at 81. Here's a look at the 7-day forecast for Roseburg. More 80s to come as we head into next week. We'll continue to remain above average, right around 80 degrees, and then a cool down possible on Friday. May send a few extra clouds our way and a couple raindrops, but that's still a long ways away, and plenty can change between now and next Friday.
Thank you so much, Travis. And with those warmer temperatures and better weather, it stimulates rapid growth for some vegetation in our area. Tomorrow, the city of Coburg will begin enforcing the noxious vegetation ordinance to help keep things in check. The ordinance specifies that property owners or persons in charge of property are responsible for the dealing with noxious vegetation. And Heath, Coburg City Administrator, shares the city's concern for the community.
This is mainly for health and safety for the community. We're all facing fire hazard, and in the last few years we've seen a lot more. So we just have a greater concern for making sure that our community is safe by reducing the tall grass and the weeds.
Heath goes on to say that some vegetation is more likely to become a hazard, like blackberry bushes, bamboo, and ivy. The city will continue enforcing the ordinance through the end of October. Bass and crappie are no longer in the Fall Creek Reservoir in Lane County. As NBC 16's Alex Hothenstop shows us, researchers and biologists are thrilled at the news.
While it may be to the disdain of sports fishermen, bass and crappie have been eliminated from the Fall Creek Reservoir.
We haven't seen them in, 4 or 5 years.
According to Christina Murphy, a postdoc researcher at Oregon State University, this is good news. The warm water species are not native to Oregon, and a young Chinook salmon,
I think they're very cute,
is no match for larger fish like bass.
The small salmon coming into the reservoir are being eaten by those species.
Murphy recently authored a study on how annual draining of the reservoir has eliminated the invasive species. The reservoir was built in the 60s, but small passages didn't allow young salmon to get to the ocean, where they live a large portion of their life.
And they knew immediately that this was a problem.
Now Chinook salmon are listed as threatened in the Willamette River.
The numbers that we see now are much lower than the historical populations.
In 2011, at the suggestion of biologists, the Army Corps of Engineers decided to drain the reservoir for a week in late fall to allow salmon passage. They've done it every year since, and biologists are crediting the draining for the elimination of the invasive fish. But where did they go?
We wondered this too.
Biologists aren't exactly sure, but they believe the bass and crappie aren't faring well in the chilly winter river water. As for the salmon, even after 8 years, it's too early to tell how their populations will be affected. But every time the numbers come in,
everyone gets excited when they're looking at numbers of fish. I like to think.
Biologists are hopeful for good news. I'm Alex Hossenstaub reporting.
Well, speaking of fish, if you've ever wanted to try out fishing, this is the perfect weekend to do it. This is Oregon's free fishing weekend. You don't need a license to fish crab or clam anywhere in the state. The Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife has hundreds of volunteers across the state and is hosting several free events where anyone can learn to fish. Local events in our area include one at Alton Baker Park from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. For a complete list of these events, you can visit our website at NBC16.com. And coming up next in sports, Hayden Herrera would join us, but the Beavers trying to defend their national championship, well, they were in for a rude awakening from the team in the Queen City. Highlights and reaction from OSU's regional opener right after the break.
And Doug. Sports Desk is brought to you by Three Rivers Casino Resort.
The final day of May is the first day of the NCAA baseball tournament. 15 of the 16 regional hosts playing Friday. The first 14 that played today won their opener. Would Oregon State make it a perfect record for the 1 seeds? Beavers taking on the 4 seed Cincinnati at Goss. Wait a second, this wasn't in the script. Bearcats up 2-0. Jace Mercer singles to right, scores another run. Cincy up 3-0, and the folks in Corvallis are stunned. Beavers finally get the offense going in the 7th. Bases loaded. Cincinnati head coach Scott Guggen said he would walk Adley Rutschman, and he wasn't joking. Bases loaded, intentional walk, which would briefly come back to haunt the Bearcats. Tied at 5, Andy Armstrong, Apo Taco, and Oregon State on top, 6-5. But the Bearcats tie it once again in the 8th, then in the 9th. A.J. Bumpus, remember the name, 5 for 5, including this RBI triple. The biggest win in the history of Cincinnati baseball. Oregon State now in the losers bracket.
Just really disappointed in our effort defensively tonight. I know they had 15 hits, but I honestly thought there was in reality maybe about 10 hits. There was probably about 5 balls that should have been caught that weren't caught.
In their conference. Beavs will now face Creighton in an elimination game Saturday, first pitch at 1 p.m. From college to high school, 2A 1A state title game, Umpqua Valley Christian against Kennedy from Volcano Stadium in Kaiser. Top of the third, 3-1 UVC. Kennedy trying to turn the double play. Throw is high, 2 runs come in to score on the error, 5-1 Monarchs. Bottom 6, 5-2 UVC. Bruce Bayer ropes one into left to bring in a run. Trojans chipping away 5-3. Bottom 7, Kennedy down to their final out. Dimitri Marseille pops one into shallow center, but it's dropped. 1 run will score, 5-4 UVC. The next batter, he pops up one up to center. This one an easier play, but it's dropped again. We're tied at 5 going to extras. Unreal. Top 9, bases loaded, Kennedy. Once again, trying to turn a double play, but bobbled at second. Monarchs take a 6-5 lead. They scored 5 in the 9th. Bottom 9, they won't make the same mistakes they did in the 7th. Starting pitcher Aaron Butchley makes the final out in center. Wasn't easy, but UVC wins it in extras for the state championship.
Yeah, he did a great job keeping us in the game. He deserves to win the ball game. Having 2 late errors just hurt us. But Aaron did a fantastic job. Showed great senior leadership, great composure. Really proud of that kid. We've had some unlikely heroes, and Isaiah Hurd's been one of them. Just a kid that didn't even play baseball last year and becomes our DH and hits over 330 and has had some huge hits for us.
And of course, a Gatorade bath for Coach York. He has earned it. The town of Drain, Oregon has roughly more than 1,000 people in population. But despite the small numbers, they have one heck of a softball team in the North Douglas Warriors. The last 2 state champions squaring off at the J. North Douglas taking on Kennedy in the 2A 1A title game. Warriors pitcher Nikki Derrick had her stuff going as usual, ending the bottom of the first and bottom of the second with strikeouts. More on her in just a bit. North Douglas up 1-0 at the start of the third. Then the floodgates opened. Riley Black, base knock. That'll go to the wall. Sophia Alcantar scores, and it's 2-0. Warriors weren't done. Now 4-zip. Natalie Drager, she went 4 for 5 with 3 RBI in this game. Scores Derrick, a 6-run inning for North Douglas that really put this one away to the 7th. Warriors up 15-6. How fitting that Nikki Derrick ends it with a strikeout, one of 16 Ks on the evening, and for the second time in 3 seasons, the North Douglas Warriors are 2A 1A state champions.
I would bet that most of Drain is standing right out there right now. We're not a very big town, and for a single A team or a single A school like this to win this is just great. The support we get from the community is wonderful.
Yeah, 3 out of 4 is the goal. I want everyone to know that last year, I got hurt. We should have been 4 out of 4, and I just want them to know that they got lucky last year.
Love it. Derek already getting the folks ready for next season. Finally tonight, home opener for Lane United FC. The Red Aces showing up in full force of their new home venue at Marist High School. Reds hosting Seattle Sounders U23s. LUFC up 1-0 in the 59th. Albert Esqueen making the save, but the first ever home match ends in a 1-1 draw. Tough night for the Reds, but they had a great home opening.
Did you play sports growing up?
Tried to. Quickly learned I wasn't good. That's why I'm on this side of sports.
I danced for like 14 years. And yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, so I take my hat off to everyone out there who's getting that cardio. Well, thank you so much, Hayden. And coming up next on NBC 16, as you binge seasons 1 and 2 of Stranger Things, waiting for those new episodes this summer, Baskin-Robbins has you covered in the meantime.
M. Jacobs Mattress Gallery is now open.
Baskin-Robbins is launching a line of sweet desserts inspired by the popular Netflix series Stranger Things. Among them is the Buyer's House of Lights Polar Pizza Ice Cream Treat with M&Ms that resemble Christmas lights. There's also a Demogorgon sundae that looks like one of the monsters when viewed from the top. The tie-in also extends to regular ice cream with 2 flavors of the month. 11's Heaven ice cream is flavored like a waffle cone with chocolate icing and upside-down pralines, and it's like a chocolate with praline pecans. And the 3rd season of Stranger Things is set to debut on the 4th of July.
Can't wait. Love Dustin. He's my favorite character.
I tried to give it a chance because it was like a big talker, but I couldn't.
Best show on Netflix. Best show on Netflix.
That's debatable, but thanks for watching NBC 16 News at 11. The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon is next.
Deal Talk. Introducing my triple bonus jack combo. Now